Coming up, the Patriots might just have themselves a new Prima Donna heading into week 1 of the preseason. Plus, we take a look back at the most rock and roll thing Dave Matthews Band ever did or didn't do. And we found the worst person on Twitter. I know, you've searched for years, but we found him. All that and more coming up on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Hello and welcome into the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Cam Stewart here, Braden Murray joining us later on in the show. And it is the day of week 1 of the preseason, the first time we get to see the New England Patriots out there taking the field in a game that somewhat matters. They keep score, but it doesn't matter. And the preseason has been watered down in recent years even more than before. With the 3 games, a lot of the stuff comes down to joint practices now, so I don't know how much you're going to see of Drake May. Don't know how much you're going to see of the guys that they paid some big money to in this offseason, and don't know how much you're going to see of the guy who they haven't paid big money to again, and the guy who is now the lightning rod of this New England Patriots team, and that is Matthew Judon. It has gone from bad to worse in terms of this Matthew Judon situation as it relates to his head coach, to the front office, to the fans, and to the sports media in Boston. Judon almost certainly was dangled in that trade, that proposed trade to San Francisco for Brandon Ayuk. We don't know the details of it yet, but we're talking about a guy who is still one of the best pass rushers in the league, wrong side of 30 on an expiring contract. He was probably thrown into that mix. And it seems clear that although the Patriots said it was a priority to re-sign him, it's not been a priority. Because they've thrown out other contracts, Ramondre Stevenson, Christian Barmore, who unfortunately might not play this season, Jabril Peppers, Devon Godshaw now, a run specialist. And you didn't pay your best pass specialist in Matthew Judon. What is going on here? What is going on? It's been an interesting couple of years for Matthew Judon with the Patriots, and it's really become interesting the last few weeks because he came in with big money and lived up to that price tag. He's been one of the best pass rushers in the league since he's gotten to New England and has been certainly an affable guy and a guy who has tried to recruit star players to come play for the Patriots, has been very vocal about his love for this organization and for the fan base, loves being here and being one of the stars for the Patriots. He had also a propensity to kind of disappear the last few weeks of the season in 2021 and 2022. Both times the team was making playoff pushes. And last year, through no fault of his own, he got hurt and missed most of the season. In fact, 13 games of the season, if I'm correct. And so now he comes in last year of his contract, again, 31 years old, coming off a big injury that knocked him out for basically a whole season. And it's the week 1 of the preseason, August 8th, and he still doesn't have a contract. What is going on here? What is going on? That's what fans were asking last week when I was at training camp. And he was throwing the football around to the fans in the stands before the team would go out for practice. They were asking, what's going on, Matt? Where's the new contract? He says, ask Elliott Wolf. Ask Elliott Wolf. Ask the new Patriots GM. That's what he said to everyone. Deflecting. Ask him. Ask him. And at the time, whatever. He's kind of having fun with it. Obviously, he's not going to say to the fans, like, yeah, I'm holding out for a 3-year deal. They only want to give me 1 with an option. He's not going to say that, right? But it gets a little weirder than when he storms out of practice the next week, shows up as new head coach. First guy to do that. Congrats. First show up of the Gerard Mayo era, Matthew Judon, who kind of pouted and stormed off the field, threw his pads down, stormed off the field. And then, again, no surprise if we find out that he was dangled in the Brandon Ayuk trade and the things start to ramp up a little bit. And specifically, a tete-a-tete with the midday radio show on EEI with Gresh and Fourier, which they must be so thankful to Matthew Judon. That station is now getting some pub again because they're in a fight with Matthew Judon. But basically calling him out and saying that Judon has been fake in this whole process. I am not a huge Gresh guy. I'm not a huge Fourier guy either. Fourier was at least decent when he was with Lou and Ordway. But I don't think what they're saying is that crazy. It's not just shock jock. I need to have a take here. Gresh says, Matthew Judon is upset that people aren't rallying around him. The fans aren't circling around him screaming, by God, we need Judon. There's no riots in the streets. I hate to say this to Matthew Judon. You're not Willie McGinnis. You're just not. Wouldn't expect riots in the streets, but I know what he's saying. When Willie McGinnis left and they didn't give him a new contract, even though he was at the end of his career, best days were behind him, Patriots fans couldn't believe it. And they couldn't believe when they traded Richard Seymour and they let Mike Vrabel go. Matthew Judon's not that. They're not winning like that. You know, he's not a foundational piece to a dynasty Super Bowl team. So that happens. He goes on to say, Willie McGinnis was the voice of the defense. He was respected. He was a badass. That guy is beloved at defensive end. I'm sorry to say, Matt Judon, you're not a beloved figure here to where people and fans are going to scream and bend over backwards that you have to be on this roster. Yes and no. I just laid it out. I mean, he's not... He is a beloved figure here. You go around and you'll see number 9 jerseys everywhere, right? People that wear the red sleeves under their jerseys and are doing this every time Judon gets a sack. Like, he is beloved, but the context is different. This is a team that sucks. It's not a team that's winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. And he's a guy that also went missing towards the end of the season. So I don't think it's going to be a full-on revolt if Matthew Judon had gotten traded or leaves in the offseason. But it's certainly one that they'd be like, damn, man, there's going to be a lot of jersey trade-ins at the pro shop in Foxborough. And the story goes on to say, despite sitting out of practices last week, Judon stressed on Monday that he intends to play through the final year of his contract, even though he's looking for a greater payout. And Judon said this he said this to the media. No, I've got to play. Didn't say anything about progress. I've got to go out there and play. I've got to play the game. I've got to do what I'm contractually obligated to do so I don't lose money. Fans love hearing that. Fans love hearing that. And he's also had some posts on Twitter, X, if you will, that some to varying degrees of making sense. No, they haven't, but it makes me look bad again. Don't believe the lies, he said about restructuring the deal since the start of training camp. And he's just been going back and forth. He told these guys, he called them fucks to just sit down and talk sports. And they have left, Gresh and Fourier have left the door open for any time Matthew Judon wants to come on the show. Man, that would be the first great radio they've done in a long time. I'll say that over on EEI. That would be some good radio for them. One of the other tweets, which I don't get this one from Judon. This is when he said, you fucks just sit down and talk. He said, I said when we aren't in pads, but besides me staying hours on hours to sign and throw the ball around with the fans, how about y'all come talk to me? So I'm having a tough time following that one. But yeah, he's disgruntled. That was a word we weren't going to use at the beginning of this training camp, but Matthew Judon is disgruntled. So he is the first disgruntled player, prima donna, if you will, of the Gerard Mayo era, or more importantly, the first holdout of the post-Bill Belichick era. Would this have happened if Belichick were the coach? No, and I'll tell you why. He's had holdouts before. Judon would have still held out. It wouldn't have gotten to this point. Belichick probably would have traded him at this point. I don't think in the Belichick mantra as a GM, they would ever re-sign a pass rusher, a pass rush specialist, a guy who's not out there every down at 31 years old. I don't think they would re-sign him. They'd trade him with a year left on his contract. In fact, we saw it with an even better player in Chandler Jones. That was a little bit different. He was younger, and he was going to go to market and get a big price tag, and the Patriots weren't going to do it. And he had good seasons after that, but he's not the same player again. Richard Seymour, same thing. Hall of Famer. Traded him before letting him go to market. So that's where Matthew Judon could be a great trivia question. The first prima donna holdout storming off the practice field in the post-Bill Belichick era. It's Matthew Judon. And I would love Judon to stay with the team because I think he is still an effective player. But look, man, they also love Keon White. The pass rush specialist they got out of Georgia Tech last year, got hurt, didn't play the whole season last year, but showed a ton of promise in the preseason, in the joint practices, in the early part of the regular season. That's a guy who this coaching staff believes in to become the next Matthew Judon, and one that is salivating for fans to watch. So, yeah, Matthew Judon's days in New England might be numbered. And I don't think that's as bad a thing as some fans think it is. Again, like Judon, this seems out of character for him. But make no mistake, he's making a stink, and he's making a distraction for this first-year head coach, Gerard Mayo, going into his first games as a Patriot coach. And that stinks. That stinks. If you had told me last season, hey, we're just coming off a 4-13 year, which of these guys do you think they'll actually re-sign? I actually would have had Judon near the top of the list, even though he is coming off an injury and would be 31 years old before playing a game in the 2024 season. But I would have had him above Devon Godshaw. I might have even had him above Ramondre Stevenson, even though that's about a 2-year deal rather than a 4-year deal. Surprising. But Matthew, this is not the distraction this team needs right now. They're probably going to stink either way, but what they need is to set up a foundation for the future under this coach, and hopefully, at some point in this season, this new quarterback. You're not helping. Even by just throwing the ball to the fans in the stands. Anyway, we've got the infamous Dave Matthews Band incident 20-year anniversary to talk about, and the worst person on Twitter with Braden Murray, who is not the worst person on Twitter, but he'll talk about him on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Braden, you ready?
This segment is just me naming as many Patriots players as I can, and you're like,
I think that would be good to see how many you could name.
I'm running out.
Can you do 5 more?
Sebastian Vollmer.
UH guy? Is that why? Is that how you know who he is?
No, he played for the Patriots, and he speaks German.
Yeah, he's from Germany. It's just a weird one to know. Sebastian Vollmer was a good player.
Did I say Amendola?
Great player. You did say Amendola.
Revis?
Terrell Revis, 1 year.
Randy
Moss. Yeah, technically you hadn't said that. I had. But yeah.
Ooh, Martellus Bennett.
Yes.
That's 4?
Yep. You could
Devin McCourty.
stay on that same plane. Oh, I said McCourty.
Oh, shoot. Jason McCourty.
There you go. That works. You could also said Michael Bennett.
Was he on the
Patriots for a season? Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember.
Martellus had a more impactful season. Martellus almost caught the touchdown to win the Super Bowl against Atlanta.
I remember Michael
the play
Bennett.
Before the touchdown was a pass to Bennett.
I remember Michael Bennett with the Patriots, not because he was with the Patriots, but because he assaulted a security guard at the Super Bowl in Houston.
Yes, when Marty was playing for the Patriots. Michael Bennett had a really good Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Yeah. In
that Seahawks Super Bowl 49, they had no answer for him.
Was Junior Seau a Patriot?
Yes, and he would be among my top 10. I was a big Junior fan. May he rest in peace. Big Junior Seau fan. We're keeping this in the show, by the way, Zach. We're keeping whenever you started recording, we're keeping that in the show. But today is a big anniversary, Braden.
Okay.
Not just the day of the first Patriots preseason game, but today is the 20-year anniversary of one of the most rock and roll things I've ever heard. Can I set the scene for you, Braden?
You may.
I'll read this from Chicago Magazine because they do a better job than I do. It was just a lovely summer day on August 8th, 2004, when Chicago's Little Lady took off on the 1 p.m. Chicago Architecture Foundation tour. Little sightseeing boat on the river. Yeah. At the same time, a tour bus for the Dave Matthews Band, in town playing a 2-night show at Alpine Valley Music Theater in East Troy, Wisconsin, was making its way through the loop. And while traveling over the Kinsey Street Bridge, the bus driver made the highly unusual and illegal choice to dump the coach's septic tank through the bridge's street grates and into the river. And just then, naturally, the tour boat was passing underneath. As Chicagoans know, when it rains, it pours. Some 800 pounds worth of human waste over 2/3 of the 120 passengers on the boat's deck. They say Dave Matthews Band isn't rock and roll, but I don't know a more rock and roll thing than this. They, and by they I mean one of the tour bus drivers, dumped 800 pounds of shit onto people who were just trying to see some nice architectural designs, feats of great human architecture.
In one of the great cities of America.
Yes. On a piss hot summer's day. And there are some great stories, some firsthand accounts. I was on the wrong story for this, so I'm going to have to go find it now. But basically, there was this guy who was working for the Chicago Tribune. His name was Brett McNeil, who was just on a tour that day, his off day, with his then girlfriend, and has this great quote. This is so funny. The people didn't grasp what was happening in real time. I think we thought we'd been hit with water. Then a passenger from the back of the boat said, "That's not water, buddy. That's urine." I remember people standing on the dock saying, "How are we supposed to drive home?" That's a reasonable question.
Yeah.
These people have literally just been pounded with shit and piss on a hot summer's day. Like, what are they supposed to do? So the story goes, there's like, Zach was telling me this, it's like 4 or 5 tour buses, and most of them are parked at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So when they confronted the police, confront Dave Matthews Band about this, they're like, whoa, our buses have been at the hotel, except for one. One had decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to dump this septic into the river in the middle of one of the most populous cities in the United States. In the middle of the day.
Were they on the bus?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they were not on the bus. We'll quickly come to find out Dave Matthews Band has almost nothing to do, really nothing to do with this at all. Nothing, except for the fact that it was their bus. Mm-hmm. But it was this basically rogue bus driver. And they were saying it was basically the Maid of the Mist. Oh, man. This is great. There's famous people on here. There's a guy from the Tribune. There was a professional violinist. Oh, man. I'm a violinist. I was going to play for a wedding at church with my mom and just spend a lovely day together with my parents that day.
I like that your criteria for famous is a violinist and a journalist.
Yeah. It's just funny, man. 120 people on board. And they got just deluged with this. In the end, the group known for its environmental activism had something of a skid mark on its record. It's a tale that is stuck in the minds of otherwise jaded emergency medical specialists, and it's gone on to become a part of our cultural zeitgeist. While some people are born into greatness, others have it flushed upon them. How badass is that?
Were they charged with anything?
I don't think technically. I think they preemptively paid a bunch of donations. Dave Matthews Band ended up donating $100,000 to the Friends of the Chicago River, Chicago Parks Department, and the guy who actually did it probably doesn't have a lot of money. I think he sent $10,000, which is a good decent amount, but that is basically Dave Matthews Band on the hook for this. Chicago's Little Lady staff immediately cleaned the boat after the incident, and all passengers were given refunds for their $25 tickets. And then they were able to clean it enough that they were able to go for the 3:00 tour. This will not
deter
back us down. Yeah. A handful of people went to the hospital. No one with serious or life-threatening injuries, but covered, yes, in human waste. This is unbelievable. And then something called Riot Fest, years later, in fact, last year it was put up, put a plaque on the Kinsey Street Bridge commemorating this famous incident with the Dave Matthews Band tour bus with rivers of shit coming out the back. I think that should be a landmark.
A national monument.
Yes. Why not? And here we sit 20 years later. I think it's very funny that it happened to something like the Dave Matthews Band. Are you a Dave Matthews Band fan at all?
No.
Okay.
Are you?
Yeah. My mom is a huge fan.
Okay.
A huge Dave Matthews Band fan. So I like them decently enough. I don't know a lot of their deep cuts or anything. I get why they're kind of a meme.
Dave Matthews Band is one of those bands where there's definitely a generational disconnect, which is weird for me to say as someone who loves older music.
Yeah.
But there are just some bands that I don't like their dad music.
How much does your generation know, appreciate Nickelback?
my generation doesn't like Nickelback.
Sure, like they've become a meme, like Dave
Right.
Matthews Band. But for my generation, not that much older than you, they're still a meme, but we also were alive when they were making big hits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it wasn't crazy to call yourself a Nickelback fan back then. Like we were kind of the first to, so I get that. I get where you're coming from. And people from the 90s would probably see people coming of age in the 90s and early 2000s even, they might see Dave Matthews Band as a meme now, but probably liked them back in the day. The same way I liked Nickelback when I was a kid. I was also like 10, but yeah, I think they make some good music, I think, but it's just so funny that, like, think about it through the lens of Nickelback. You know, Nickelback is a huge meme if they pulled some shit like this. No pun intended. Like,
how long do you think it takes to amass 800 pounds?
That's what I was kind of floored by.
Human feces.
That's a lot.
That is
I get they're on tour, they're on the road, but one of 4 or 5 buses is accumulating that much. Like, this probably should have been disposed of earlier.
Yeah.
Do you think this is like a just huge desperation from this guy?
It was slowing the bus down, hurting his his mileage.
But, like, think about what has to go through your head. Like, obviously this guy has done it before, right? He's driving a tour bus. He's driving the charter tour bus. So he's done this. He has to know how to do this. And what possesses you to be like, I have no other option but to do it in the middle of the Chicago River.
An act of desperation.
Good Lord, man. You just came from some mid-sized city no one's ever heard of in Wisconsin. Just do it there. And instead, he's doing it into the river, not like in a sewer. It's got grates, but he's doing it into the river.
Also, I'd like to know if he was doing it as he was passing over it, or if he was like just stopped.
Yes, he like pulled over to the side. Like,
it's traffic. Like,
traffic's
you know what
going
I should
around
do
him?
right now?
Like, I don't understand this. I don't know if there was some part of the bridge that does go into the sewer that he didn't do, but
was he a repeat offender?
Yeah, who knows? Lord only knows how many times he's done this before. Is he in it just for the thrill?
Has he done it again?
Potentially
Since this?
dousing tourists in shit. Oh, this is so great. These accounts are just incredible. In the moments before the bus passed over the boat, McNeil, who was the Tribune writer, thought the noise was a street sweeper or a truck the city uses to water flower beds. But as the brown water splashed down, hitting McNeil in the arm, there was an immediate stunned silence, then eventual panic from the passengers as the porta potty smell began to make itself known. This is like poetic in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so funny. Like, how are we going to drive home?
Yeah.
It's a reasonable question. Think about that. You've driven from the suburbs, okay? You've driven from Evanston to Chicago, have a nice day in the city, maybe grab lunch in the city afterwards. You're parked somewhere random, or maybe you've taken the train in, and now you're covered in feces.
Or,
like, what do you do? Can you just like rock up to a Planet Fitness and take a shower? Like, what do you do in that situation?
Also, it's summer break. Usually it's a lot of tourists, like first-time visitors to the city that go on those types of tours. And now their memory of their trip is just getting shit on by the Dave Matthews Band.
That's just insane, man. All right, the bus driver was then 42-year-old Stephen Wall, so now 62-year-old Stephen Wall, who pleaded guilty to charges of reckless conduct and discharging contaminants to cause water pollution. He got hit with 18 months probation, 150 hours of community service, and had to pay a $10,000 fine to the Friends of the Chicago River. Oh, wow. You ready for this, though?
That's kind of bioterrorism.
Huh?
It's kind of bioterrorism.
It really, like, it is. That's what I'm saying. Like, there was no part, like, this wasn't a mistake. It's a mistake that it hit people.
Yeah.
But his goal was to dump shit into the Chicago River. Right? Like, that's it. I mean, that's what I can't get past out of all of this. But today, Hideout Chicago, which is a bar or someplace down the street, or a club, is hosting a sold-out Don't Drink the Water dance party to celebrate the event. But not everyone is on board with the remembrance. The Chicago Architecture Foundation, the organization that runs the river tours, told this publication who wrote the story the following response when asked for comment. This is the Block Club that this is coming from. Mm-hmm. There is certainly no joy in reliving the 2004 event that traumatized our passengers and crew, as well as Chicago's First Lady, a family business, and the CAC, a nonprofit organization. Together, we have provided acclaimed architecture river cruises on Chicago's waterways for more than 30 years, and we choose to not let what took place that day diminish our contributions in showcasing the city we love with the world. Out of respect for all those who are affected, we will not provide any additional comment. Thank you for understanding. What I love about this is they're like, we still put on architectural tours, and we don't want people to think that they're just going to have shit dumped on them.
It's not a tradition.
Like we don't think that's going to happen again, guys. Like,
what are the odds if it did? What are the odds if it did?
That'd be great.
What are those people who got
Imagine
refunded?
Dragons needs to boost their street cred, and they just start dumping. They themselves are start dumping their piss and shit out in the river.
What are the people who got refunded and scheduled for a later tour? What if another band happened to be passing the bridge at the exact same time? The bus driver also at the same time. You know what I should do?
No.
I should empty my tanks. And they get shit on twice.
It should become a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, all right, put your umbrellas if you don't want any of the human waste on you. We were horrified. This is someone from Friends of Chicago River. We were horrified by what happened to those people on that boat because it's an unimaginable experience. It sounds like a terrorist attack. In a way, it is.
Never forget.
In a way, it is a terrorist attack. Oh, man. What's the fascination? The hate for Dave Matthews and the love for poop jokes. Mused Jeremy Shush, creative director of Riot Fest. They're the ones who put the plaque up. One of his first duties in 2016 was to write an article on an event, and he remembers it having more views than anything the Riot Fest website had posted before then, even about announcements and lineups. So yeah, Dave Matthews Band donated $50,000 to the Friends of the Chicago River, which was the group has now used an endowment to further its policy work to help clean up the river and make it more accessible to Chicagoans. They're not from Chicago, from Charlottesville, Virginia, and they have given like every year since. That's awesome in a way. People who live in Chicago take pride in the dumbest, greatest shit, Shush said. It's like Mayort. It's horrible, but it's ours. It's scatological and completely harmless, McNeil said. How many Chicago stories like this are there? This is our generation O'Leary's cow. I have no idea what that means. An absolutely livable civic touchstone of no consequences. I couldn't care less about the Dave Matthews Band, but I think he personally and the brand of his jam band have paid kind of an unfair price for a contractor's fuck-up, McNeil said. It's like Ford paying a significant price for the Bronco chase. That's a good way to put it. Oh, man. So 20 years later, it lives on. I'm gonna be living basically in Chicago at this time next year. So I can't wait to go and visit the Kinzie Street Bridge and see that plaque. Take a picture with it.
Play some flowers.
Yes, to remember. Mm-hmm. There are probably 120 passengers 20 years ago. Some of those people are dead.
Probably dead, yeah.
So who knows if that came from the poop.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. No one is caught up with Stefan Wall, though, the bus driver, which that's what I need. I need this guy, if he's still alive, to be commenting on this. You know, this is like Mindhunter. Did you ever watch Mindhunter?
No, but I've heard it's good.
It's great. They never should have canceled it. It's really too bad. They're trying to it was the FBI in the 70s first profiling serial killers and trying to find things psychologically that added up. That's what I need for this. I need the Criminal Minds crew.
You're comparing this guy to a serial killer?
In a way, yeah. Because I need to know what compelled him. That's why people find serial killers fascinating for the most part. You know, I did for a while. You know, I'm not trying to be a serial killer myself, but I want to know what's going on in their brains. Like, why do they do this shit? I want to know why Stefan Wall did this.
That's the question.
And we might never know.
We might never know. Are you okay with that?
It's as a former journalist, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can
As
live.
a former journalist,
Yeah.
I think you're still a journalist.
This show?
No, Locked On Baylor.
Yeah, barely. I wouldn't even call it that. Listen to some Dave Matthews Band, man. Playing under the table and dreaming. They might be the fathers of divorced dad rock. They might be the dads of that.
U2.
Yeah. U2 feels different because they were so massive in their heyday. You know, like Dave Matthews Band nor Nickelback were like as big as U2. I get what you mean though. Definitely post like War and Joshua Tree, U2 is very, very much divorced dad rock.
Yeah.
Do you like U2? Like
Nah,
their prime U2?
I like some of their songs,
Yeah.
but
I
I've
do
never.
like a good prime U2. Yeah.
I haven't listened to an actual full album. So
Really? You didn't
No.
have one? Did you have a cell phone by the time they dropped it on everyone's phone?
I had an iPad.
So it dropped. It
Yeah.
dropped to you. What a dumb move, man. What a dumb move. Yeah, I mean, Dave Matthews Band is like U2 if U2 never had the 80s. I wonder who the next one's going to be. Who's going to be the next divorced dad rock icon? Is it as simple as Imagine Dragons?
Maybe Maroon 5.
Maybe. Mumford and Sons?
Are they a rock band?
That's a stretch. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a stretch.
Next divorced dad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Imagine Dragons is probably up there. But I see them
Yeah.
more as divorced mom music.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been wrong about these things before, but we talked about staying power with movies. I don't know if Imagine Dragons is going to have staying power.
You know what? I thought of it. They're not
Okay.
they're not a rock band. It's a
Okay.
guy. It's Post Malone. I think Post Malone could be my generation's divorced dad music.
I have worked with not quite middle-aged people, but like people in their 40s, so not quite up there at middle age, that love Post Malone.
Okay.
I worked with two ladies at a news station that were like mid-40s to early 50s, and they would go to Post Malone concerts together, not with kids, just them.
That's weird.
They were way into it. I was like, and they thought it was like no big deal. They're like, yeah, we love Post Malone. It's like, what? Like it really struck me. I'll bet he's a Dave Matthews Band fan.
Oh, also, you know another good one? Morgan
Why
Wallen.
not?
Morgan Wallen
yeah,
would be.
yeah, country more than rock, I guess. But,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I could see that. And therefore, then 30 years down the line, I think Zach Bryan could become that too. It doesn't need to be bands that aren't good.
Right, Zach. I like Zach Bryan. The problem with Zach Bryan.
Like, because I think if you had told someone in 1985 U2 is going to be this meme of a divorced dad rock band, they'd be like, you're crazy. So it doesn't need to be bad bands. It's just like Hootie and the Blowfish had their day, and that would fall into that category, I would say. Not hard rock, but sure. Dave Matthews Band had their day. August 8th, 2004.
Yeah.
Has there been like measures taken to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Makes
Is there
it-
like a union of
Have buses
tour
made
bus
it-
drivers that like this is against the code?
Maybe manufacturers have made it more difficult to dump waste.
In a way, I
You have
hope
to put
so,
it in a launch
but
code.
Getting stories like this, it's just incredible. I just think about those victims.
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted. They're like, you want to do the 1 o'clock or the 3 o'clock? Oh, let's do the 1. We'll be having lunch right down the street. Let's just do the 1 o'clock. Beat the crowd a little bit. We'll have a great, nice day out there. You have to convince some of the people in your family, like, no, I know you're not into architecture, but this will be fun. Come on, this will be fun. And then this happens. That's too good. That's too good. Anyway, let's talk about. I like Dave Matthews Band ultimately. This guy who dumped waste sucks. But there is a guy I discovered last night who is my least favorite person on the planet.
Oh.
That we will be discussing next on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. It is the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Braden Murray alongside. And Braden, I'm just going to cut to the chase. I found my least favorite person ever last night on the internet.
Wow, that's a bold claim.
Because I hate a lot of people.
Yes, you do.
And I'm actively trying not to. I'm trying to practice some gratitude, replace the hate in my life with some more love. But when I see shit like this, that I have no choice but to react like the way I'm reacting.
Okay.
When people have poked and prodded your culture to the point where if he were in front of my speeding car, I wouldn't even try to stop. I'm, of course, talking about Cale Zeldin, whom you all know. We'll get into his bio in a minute. But it's this tweet that really buzzed my balls, and not in a good way. He says, "Gents, it's time to let go of the baseball cap. Outside the arena of playing a sport, it is a marker of either poor style or poor awareness. Have some dignity. Just take them off, especially inside." Cale Zeldin, go fuck yourself.
Oh, we just had one. Sorry. He had one from less than an hour ago.
He's responding to all of them. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, he just posted, T-shirts or underwear. Do not wear underwear in public unless you're working or exercising.
What? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is a drop-off. Wait a minute. Don't wear underwear in public?
No, T-shirts are underwear.
Oh.
Do not wear them in
public.
public.
Wear a T-shirt in public.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, genuinely. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? All right. I'm going to try and get meta a little bit here. So, you know me, Braden. I'm not very political. I'm a meathead. And when I do get political, I'm really right down the middle. So, I get annoyed by people on the left. I get annoyed by people on the right. And not even because of their politics. I just get annoyed at people who think they're better than other people. I hate that. There's nothing I hate more than that in a person. And this is Cale Zeldin's entire existence, apparently. He's literally trying to tell you what you can and can't wear. And then he's going to go on a 6.5-minute video saying, "I'm not a troll, I'm being serious, but of course I'm not telling you what to wear." Yes, you fucking are. Yes, you are. You've now done it twice. What? We'll get back to the hats, because now this is fascinating me. Thank you for bringing it to my attention, Braden. What is wrong with a T-shirt?
I don't know. I'm wearing one right now.
What is wrong with a T-shirt? And he'll probably say, "Oh, you're okay, Braden, because you're 21 years old."
Right.
But, like, literally, who cares? Who cares? Most jobs, you're not allowed to wear a T-shirt, right? Most jobs, on the whole, you're wearing a button-up or polo or a suit, whatever the fuck. But if you're not required to, why not wear a T-shirt? So, I'm sorry. Let me just try. I'm going to try and get this straight. So, if there's a guy who's working a construction job and busting his ass out there in the heat or the cold 12 hours a day, and let's say he's doing it in Texas, it's 100 degrees outside. Does he have to wear a button-up?
According to
A
Cale,
sweater?
yes.
A cardigan? Or can he wear a goddamn T-shirt? I fucking hate this guy so much. So much. So like I just referenced there, he did a 6.5-minute video talking into the camera about explaining his hat tweet. And he's just such a douchebag.
What were his points?
His points were he's not telling you what to wear.
Oh, okay.
And his ultimate point was he's trying to set an example for young people. And he's talking about, he literally uses the term perpetuating boys into men, which sounds like the most pedophilic thing I've ever heard, by the way.
Yeah.
Very fucking creepy. And look, not to pull jabs at this certain type of religion, but he's telling his story and mentioned that he goes to mass. So, look, a guy who's pretty Catholic and now being obsessed with how boys are being perceived.
Yeah, not a good look.
Not a great look.
Not a good look.
And he's that's basically what he was saying. And he's like, I just find it so funny that people are attacking me in the comments because I'm clearly not bothered by it. I'm responding to every comment and making a 6.5-minute video about it, but I'm clearly not bothered.
If you're not bothered, why are you responding?
Exactly. Good point, Braden Murray. Good point. Better point than any of the ones he made. And he goes into it. He's like, I just can't believe, all the comments that are coming in, and what it reminds me of is this credo, this American credo that you don't tell me what to do. First off, yes, you don't tell me what to do.
Yes, guy on Twitter.
Right. That is kind of the basis of this country, if you boil down to it. Yeah. You're not my boss. You're not my parent. You don't tell me what the fuck to do. Okay?
Brother,
First off, you nailed that. That's correct. And second off, just the language he's using is so douchebaggery.
Yeah.
And he's saying this stuff, Braden, and all I can think of is, please, God, please blame it on Trump. Please blame it on Donald Trump. There's nothing I want more than for him to blame this, that people don't want them to be told, what hats they can wear, and for him to blame it on Trump. It got there without him saying it. But I think this is worth...
May I add something real quickly?
Yes.
Also, Kale, you have 4,000 followers, and you pay to be verified on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I'm double not going to respect what you say, brother.
Yes, it says a lot about a person, right? Let's look into more of Kale Zeldin. By the way, no chance that's a real name.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fucking Nintendo character. And he did explain, he was like, I don't see why people think my name is weird. It's the second syllable of my dad's name, Mikhail. My dad's name is Michael. I'm like, none of that makes sense. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, that's not how you name people.
So
you choose a real name. You chose a vegetable. Here's his bio. And tell me what this person really does. Teacher and percipient of the underneath, connecting modern seekers with buried and forsaken wisdom. Tweets and threads about patterns and observations. Maybe I don't get that because I wear a fucking baseball cap, but that sounds like a ton of bullshit to me.
Sounds very jobless to me.
It doesn't mean anything. And he has, thankfully, we can find out what the underneath is.
Oh, he has a Substack.
Because he links to his Substack. Oh, God, I can't wait. You ready for this? You ready to hear what the underneath is, what this Substack is? Getting to the underneath of what moves and shapes us and our nested story. Braden, there is nothing... How do I put this? I have never had more of an urge as an adult to find this guy, rip his stupid collared shirt over his face, and just fucking wail on his head. Like the old Headless Horseman hockey fight. I have never wanted to do that more badly as an adult than I do right now to this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you understand where my physical aggression is coming from?
I guess.
It's because it's now beyond the hat thing. Which, by the way, pretty ableist take. Some of us, Kale, are balding and going bald, so we wear a hat to get through the fucking day. But I'm sorry if that makes me a child. I'm sorry if my balding makes me a child. You fucking melt. Oh, God, he pisses me off. And he's responding to everything, like we've mentioned. It doesn't bother him, but he's responding to everything. And he's like calling people out. It's 3 minutes ago. He's still doing it. This tweet was from 3 days ago, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to take jabs at everyone, impartial journalist, and talking about, oh, there's one guy from Boston who did it. He sent him a picture of flipping him off, and he's like, oh, the Boston sports fans are come here. It's like, dude, you suck. Like, you're the fucking worst. You think you're better than the t-shirts or underwear. I mean, like, this guy literally has no... I fucking hate this guy.
And scrolling through his timeline, you get a very good sense of what his politics are, too. I'm not going to say what they are, but...
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can guess with all these people. Within, like, 2 or 3 tweets, right? Unless they're a sports journalist, I guess. I'm going to respond. I have to respond. I shouldn't, but I'm going to. I'm going to use my construction worker example.
Mm-hmm.
Some guy in Texas right now is busting his ass. I'm going to go so Americana. Is busting his ass right now working a construction job.
While you tweet, I'm going to talk about how much I dislike verified.
This is going to take a minute.
Verified Twitter accounts. Back in my day, as in 3 years ago, verified accounts, they meant something. It meant you were a mover and shaker in the online space. You had done something to earn that check mark.
I used to have one, actually.
Did you? Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah, for a short time when I was working TV news. But it's actually it was a process, man. Like you have to apply for it and like show these, in my case, like stories that I had done to prove that it was news. And like there was actually kind of a lot to it, and it would take a couple months. Anyway, go ahead.
And now any Joe Blow from Wyoming can pay $8 a month to have his posts highlighted to the world and trick people into thinking that you're important. And I think that's very dumb, and it's done harm to the Twitter community. Also, who calls it X? Does anyone you know call it X, Cameron?
No.
Exactly. People still call it Twitter. People still call it retweeting. People still say, I don't know. I have takes about Twitter because I've been on there a while.
Yeah? You don't like Twitter anymore?
I love Twitter.
Yeah.
But
it's so necessary, unfortunately.
It is unnecessary. It's necessary for what we do.
Yeah. You kind of have to have it.
You do.
Which I would love to just, like, I don't know if I could just be one of those people who doesn't have social media, but I would love to just not have it for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to not be working, though, because that's a part of my job. In a way,
I would sooner get rid of Instagram, I think, than Twitter.
Yeah. Does it have much to do with our profession?
No, not really.
And it can get down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. But also, Twitter is funny. If you find your right niche, it's very funny.
Make an honest.
Cameron, how much longer are you going to take?
I had to rework the tweet because he did say unless you are working or exercising, so not just exercising. So I'm changing my example to there's some guys out there busting their ass 60+ hours a week trying to make an honest living and put food on their family's table. Is where I'm at now.
Okay, I'll keep going.
And the point is going to be that they want to go to a bar with their friends or their girlfriend, and you want them to wear a fucking collared shirt. That's what he's saying. I hate this guy.
I don't think that's as bad as...
Like, telling you can't wear a T-shirt?
I think if you're going out with your girlfriend, you maybe should.
You're going to a dive bar down the street?
Oh, okay, no.
T-shirt,
yeah.
With your live-in girlfriend who has no choice but to be with you?
Yeah.
That's one way to put it. Put food on their family's table, and at the weekend, they want to go to the bar.
I also don't like how you have to take extra steps to block people now. That's annoying. You used to be able to just block them with the 3 dots, but now you have to go to their page and click block them from there. Same with like advertisers. Random advertisers pop up with like 3 likes. Random people can advertise their own posts. And it's like, hey, here's me at the beach. And it's sponsored posts, sponsored content on Twitter now.
Love that. Love Twitter. Hate this guy. I did find someone like 2 weeks ago on Twitter that I thought was going to take the cake for the worst person.
Oh.
And it's a certain brand of people who do get too political. But this guy is using, in a weird way, like his political eliteness, right? Eliteness as in I'm better than you, to ruin the things in your everyday life. Like hats and T-shirts. I just really want, I want someone to kick his ass. Like, I really do. Like, you know what I mean? Not kill the guy. Don't put him in a coma. But, yeah, knock him out. And if he ever saw this, he would say, oh, now they're wishing physical violence on me. Obviously fucking not, but you're going to take it that way. Kale. Probably never see it, if we're being honest.
You said he was named after his father?
That's what he said, yeah.
His name was Michael?
Yeah.
So shouldn't his name be spelled Chael?
That would be way too normal in a weird, abnormal way. But have you ever seen that where someone's like, I'm named after my father, so they took half of his name? What does that mean? If your dad's name was Christopher, would your name be Topher?
Well, my brother is named Wilson after my dad's middle name, William.
Okay, that's a stretch.
Because Wilson, it means son of William.
Okay, then I have to call this out too. I think that's weird.
Okay.
I have to call that out, Braden.
Okay.
Wilson's a nice name.
Yeah.
Do you call him Will?
No, call him Wilson. Or Wills.
Like he's a volleyball? Call him Will.
He was Wilson, the volleyball,
Changed it.
for Halloween when he was 2 years old.
Really? That's a good call, Wilson. Next he's going to start saying that there are some names that you can't have as an adult. Grow up. Your name's not Wilson anymore.
Jake.
I have a name that's not an adult name.
Cameron?
Yeah, for sure. And my best friend growing up is Dylan. That's not an adult name. We used to talk about it all the time. How many teachers or Little League coaches you have named Dylan or Cameron?
What's an adult name? Give me an example of an adult
Bill,
name.
Bob, George, Mike, Braden.
Nah, Braden's not an adult name.
Zach, I don't even know.
Aiden's
Kyle,
not
I
one.
don't know.
Aiden's not one.
No, good point, man. My girlfriend's sister's marrying a guy named Alan. That's an adult name.
That's an adult name.
That's a hella adult name. That's not even a children's name. That's one you have to inherit when you turn like 28.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a segment too. Get too deep. Red?
That's a nickname.
Red can be both. Red can be both.
That's
Red,
more of an
that's
adult.
An old-timey adult name.
Yeah.
Red Faber. Red Barber. Yeah. Drake?
Kid
name. That's not enough foresight. My parents did not have enough foresight. My sister's name is Lisa. That's an adult name. That could be an adult name now. Anyway. Fuck Zane, man. Kale, Zane. Whatever his fucking name is. Fuck that guy.
Zed.
Anyway, this was the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network.
We are Rogue Media Sports.